Peter obtaining the Anti-Venom suit in Spider-Man 2 was one of the best parts of the game for me, and with this new suit comes a lot of new powers and abilities for him to utilise and ultimately master. So today let's take some time to explore the question, could Anti-Venom beat the Sinister Six from Spider-Man PS4? So as a brief recap, during the Raft breakout, Peter encountered 5 members of the Sinister Six on the rooftop, who were under strict orders to not kill Spider-Man, yet despite these restrictions, Peter got his ass handed to him and barely survived the encounter with 14 broken bones, and this was before Doc Ock even showed up, strongly implying that Peter at that time would have stood no chance whatsoever against all 6 members of the Sinister Six in a scenario where they actually wanted him dead. However, in Spider-Man 2, this is where the tables have turned, as we see Peter further develop and refine his equipment and suits, in addition to obtaining new strength and abilities with the Anti-Venom symbiote suit. So first of all, what is the Anti-Venom suit? Well, the Anti-Venom symbiote was created when Martin Lee and Miles Morales worked together to save Peter from being reinfected into the black suit. It's explained by Dr. Connors that in the Insomniac verse, the Venom symbiote had left traces of itself when Peter tore the black suit off earlier in the story, and it was these traces of symbiote combined with the bioelectric energy of Miles, along with the full power of Martin Lee's negative energy, to create an all-new symbiote. And whilst it does offer many of the same benefits as the Venom symbiote, in addition to a few new bells and whistles, the Anti-Venom lacks sentience, and as a result, Peter is in full control all of the time. All of the power and then some, with none of the side effects. This would include a massive boon to Parker's already impressive superhuman physicals, with Peter implying that the Anti-Venom made him stronger than ever, putting him at least on the same tier of Kraven and Miles Morales, with Kraven being able to effortlessly kill multiple villains from the PS4 game, with both being able to hold their own against Black Suit Spider-Man, who could break free from a cage deemed unbreakable, which Anti-Venom would upscale from. He's not necessarily on Venom's strength level, however he isn't far behind as he could restrain Venom with his tendrils, or at the very least slow him down temporarily, which is still impressive I guess. So with this briefly explained, let's see how this version of Spider-Man would fare against the Sinister Six cast from the PS4 game. It's clear that Vulture would stand zero chance whatsoever in this fight. During the PS4 game, Adrian was already too old for the supervillain game, and whilst yes his tech was better than ever as a result of Otto Octavius giving him an upgrade, it didn't matter as a weakened Spider-Man was able to exploit his lack of stamina and beat him, and that was in a 1v2, don't forget. So the even more powerful, experienced Anti-Venom would be overkill. Electro is a dangerous opponent, and if he ever reached his full potential, he would have been an Avengers level threat. However, he was killed long before reaching that state by Kraven, a character within the same region of power as Anti-Venom, with a weaker Spider-Man with 14 broken bones already able to match Electro. So I really don't see him being a problem in this battle. It might be a bit controversial, but I don't think Rhino would do too much to Anti-Venom. In retrospect, it's shown that the only thing Alexei really had over Spider-Man was his freakish raw power. However, that power gap has now almost been completely mitigated, with an inexperienced Miles Morales already knocking around Rhino, and even taking on a stronger, more advanced Rhino later in his solo game alongside Finn, with the developers stating that Miles' abilities evolved and developed in the second game, with Black Suit Peter being able to fight Miles in an admittedly one-sided fight, which Anti-Venom would upscale from. Adding onto that, you have Peter's intelligence and agility, and brand new set of symbiote powers that Rhino has never encountered, and the Grey Juggernaut would fall pretty quickly, I think. Scorpion's toxin posed a legitimate threat to Spider-Man in the PS4 game, as it sent him into an LSD-like hallucination. However, I doubt it would even pose a threat anymore due to the regenerative capabilities of the symbiote. We see that the Venom symbiote can heal multiple broken limbs in a matter of seconds, and when bonded to Harry Osborn, it could nullify his terminal genetic disorder indefinitely, with the Anti-Venom symbiote also having this healing factor, or one similar at least. And without that toxin, well, Scorpion isn't anything that Anti-Venom can't handle. Mr. Negative is an interesting one, as he does have a level of power to combat base Spider-Man, in addition to mind control, illusions, and creating demonic entities. However, I'm questioning whether his negative powers would affect Anti-Venom at all, since we went over earlier that Martin transferred all of his power into the trace of Venom symbiote, in addition to some of Miles' bioelectricity. And whilst yes, Mr. Negative in the PS4 game should be at his strongest, since his power is based on his rage, Anti-Venom should have a significant level of tolerance to his negative energy, since he's literally made of it. In addition to being too much for Martin to handle in a physical fight, Peter had already beaten him with broken bones. A peak-powered anti-venom would do the same far easier. Doc Ock would pose the largest threat, as he was stated to easily outclass base Spider-Man and to be the strongest threat in the PS4 game, to the extent that Peter had issues against Ock even in a specialized suit of armor. However, that was then and this is now. Anti-Venom not only being stronger than that suit of armor, by a significant margin I might add, who could already destroy Doc Ock's arms, but Anti-Venom can also utilize the new Spider Arm technology built into the new advanced suit, with these arms described as being an improvement on Ock's own tentacles. And if this was the case, then that would be really bad for Otto, as his biggest strength would be stalemated by Peter's own arms, with Ock lacking any other superhuman abilities to compensate, or means to bypass Anti-Venom's healing factor, which would negate any attempts at impaling Spider-Man like he did in the first game. As a result, well, he would eventually fall just like the rest. So after going over how Anti-Venom would fare in a series of 1v1 encounters against his old villains, how would things play out if Anti-Venom had to face all 6 members of the Sinister Six in a fight? Well, a 1v6 fight is obviously going to pose much more of a problem for Peter, as he's going against 6 of these very different opponents, having different abilities and different fighting methods. This goes without saying. However, there are a few factors we still need to discuss which could ultimately make or break the fight. Rhino and Scorpion clearly have a level of resentment towards one another, which ultimately escalated into a fight between the two of them, taking them out of the 2v1 boss fight in the PS4 game. Vulture's age and limited stamina would result in him being a weak link amongst the 6, and would lead to him struggling significantly in a long drawn out encounter. Electro has a level of arrogance and a carefree nature, going as far as to make quips with Spider-Man during their encounters. However, he can also be very hyperactive and thus unpredictable. With Mr. Negative and Doc Ock having a shared level of anger and resentment towards Norman Osborn, and as a result, aggressive tendencies in combat, especially towards Spider-Man, who they both had believed were protecting Norman Osborn. Additionally, in the fight between Peter and the Sinister Five at the raft, they attack Peter one at a time rather than in groups, with members seemingly standing by idle waiting for their chance. And this is largely due to poor teamwork, as later in the fight, they have zero issues ganging up to beat the crap out of Peter whilst he was down. And as a result of this, well, it's pretty clear that they just aren't very good or experienced at working as a group, which would lead to openings for Anti-Venom to abuse. Assuming that they fought him similar to the raft scenario, Anti-Venom would be more than capable of evading, countering each individual member with almost no issue whatsoever, healing from any damage he sustains, whilst preventing any attempts at being swarmed with his omnidirectional tendrils. In addition to being stronger than ever before, and being able to resist things such as Mr. Negative's power or Scorpion's toxins, which could significantly affect Spider-Man during previous encounters. Or hell, he could even provoke multiple members into turning on one another. He is Spider-Man after all, and never stops talking, it's kinda what he does. At the end of the day, I just think Anti-Venom has far too many advantages going into this fight to lose any of the 1v1s, and he would ultimately come out victorious in the 1v6 encounter, although it might take a while and require him to fully abuse the powers of the symbiote. The villains in the second game were just much stronger, and this resulted in the symbiote version of Spider-Man also becoming far stronger than he ever was before. But anyways guys, what did you think of the video? I know this was shorter than the previous one, but hey, I still had a lot of fun making it. If you agree with the video, or if you want to talk about Spider-Man in general, feel free to hit the subscribe button and join the Discord server down below. And if you have any comments, feel free to let me know, as comments help me improve my work. Thanks guys, and as always, I hope you have a great rest of your day.